this is it. The end of the Forces storyline, finally, on The Flash Season 7. And honestly, wasn't a bad episode. I mean, a lot of the CGI wasn't the greatest, and they still keep doing some of the stuff here that I haven't liked throughout the season. But for the most part, it happened. I'm glad the story's over, and I'm ready to move on because we got some great stuff coming up in this season with Godspeed and Impulse and the return of Nora and Jay Garrick and a whole bunch of cool speedster stuff. So I am really excited for that. But anyways, guys, spoiler warning, if you have not yet seen The Flash Season 7, Episode 11, which is technically the mid-season finale, but we're not actually taking a break here. So anyway, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this. So this episode starts off seconds after last week's episode ended, where everybody died. But turns out nobody died. It was just Psyche. He was using one of his illusions to save them. So that was honestly kind of a cop-out for, like, that was a huge cliffhanger, like, oh, are they dead? But no, they're 100% completely fine. But anyway, all of a sudden this storm starts brewing in Central City, and it's like lightning is striking everywhere throughout the city, and we see that Iron Heights has one of the walls at Iron Heights has been struck, so a bunch of metahumans have been released. Cecile actually got hit by lightning, which is definitely not good, but it really didn't play a huge role in the episode. So now everybody, this is like the final stand. They're all teaming up and trying to figure out what can they do to take down and finally stop Nora. So Bashir, Alexa, and Iris, they are, I don't remember exactly how they end up here, but all of a sudden they're inside of this kind of reimagination of Iris and Barry's childhood home, and the whole place is a mess. It's dark and scary and creepy and all this stuff, and things are not looking good, and they're basically waiting there to kind of lure Nora, and they have this little ball device thing that they're going to use to stop her. But Bashir and Alexa kind of take things into their own hands, and they try to take that, but then they end up getting away from there and like teleporting away and all that stuff. And really, this was one of the confusing things of this episode, was just like, who's the villain? Because this whole time we're thinking Nora is the villain, and then halfway through the episode they're like, oh, but the forces are creating the storm, and it's not really Nora. And it's like, okay, but who is the villain here? So anyway, after that, Nora confronts Barry, and she reveals to him that she has nothing to do with this storm that is going across all of Central City, and this is actually the doing of Bashir, Alexa, and Dion. They're the ones that have created this storm. So this is what I was talking about, where it's kind of switching back and forth, and it's like, okay, all of a sudden, so now the forces are the bad guys. But then literally a couple minutes later, Barry teams up with the forces, so it turns out they're not the bad guys anymore. They're the good guys now. So they team up to take down Nora for real this time. And we get the big final battle here. And she actually traps them in the Speed Force, which it was a cool battle, but at the same time, you could tell they were using a green screen. The CGI here really was not the greatest, but it was still cool. Like, visually, it was a cool thing. It just looked really cheap and fake here, but it was still cool seeing it. So they got this cool battle going on here, and then turns out this giant forces bomb has been created. So Barry runs away. He doesn't even mention his plan. He's like, yep, I'm out of here. So then the forces are left alone to take on their big sister, Nora. And Dion kind of like jumps her, and he uses her powers to show her what life would be like without the other forces. And all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'd be all alone, and I'm so sorry, and all this stuff. And then she basically they use the power of love again, as they've been doing every single time this season, and now she's a good guy again. She officially rejoins the family, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, forgive me, Bashir, forgive me, Dion. It's like, yeah, sorry, I tried to kill you on multiple occasions. You know, I'm just gonna join your family now. I just forget the past. Forgive and forget. So, After this, Barry actually is powered by all of these forces. Again, the power of love, the power of family, and is able to stop the force-nado. So it was another cool scene. CGI wasn't the greatest, but the tornado was cool with like the blue and pink and green energy. That is one thing I have been liking about the Forces storyline. Really, the only thing I've been liking about it is just the visuals and like the colors of like, oh, you got this blue, green, and pink. That's a really cool color combination. So yeah, now the day is saved. The day is saved, and the Forces are all now living together in the house that they were in before, except now it's all nice and bright and sunny and like sunshiny and like, yay, happy ending. So the Forces get a happy ending. We did also get the return of Frost in this episode as well, because when that wall at Iron Heights was struck down, she escaped, except she didn't actually escape. She went out to chase after Chillblaine, aka Mark, who we saw a couple episodes ago. So he returns here, and first of all, I want to point out, like, how did they even get their suits? Because, I mean, they just broke out of prison. How did they have time to go get their suits? I don't really know, but it was really cool, though, how Chillblaine had this cool comics-accurate suit. It's not exactly like he looks in the comics, because in the comics he has an actual mask, and also he's not half shirtless, but it was still a cool scene that he had like the comics-ish accurate look with like the cool yellow and blue jacket with like the fur and everything. So that was pretty cool. Nice little battle. And as we see at the end of the episode, Frost is now actually out on probation. So she and Caitlin, they finally reunite. They're going back to living together, and she does reveal that she does indeed have a crush on a bartender named Mark, aka Chillblaine, because that was kind of one of the weird things about that scene earlier in the episode that they had together, was that they were just kind of like flirting back and forth. It was like, okay, you guys are supposed to be fighting here, but I didn't expect this. I honestly didn't think Chillblaine would even return, but apparently she actually does have a crush on him, and I assume that means we're going to see him return. So honestly, I'm not complaining, because I think he's a cool-ish character. So we'll see where that goes from here. But then the episode ends with actually a really great ending to this episode that sets up the rest of the season, the back half of the season, or the second graphic novel, where we have Barry and Iris. They're having a nice moment together on the couch in their apartment, and Barry mentions something about having kids and starting a family, and Iris is like, you know what, I'm tired of wondering. I'm tired of waiting. Let's just do this. And she starts walking off to the bedroom, and Barry's like, oh, we better make some babies. And then I love how he says, I love that impulse, because of course their kid in the future is named Impulse, or Bart Allen, but his superhero name is Impulse, and we know we're actually going to be seeing him in this season a couple episodes from now. I think it's episode 17 is going to be the episode he's introduced in. He's going to be played by Jordan Fisher. I've made multiple videos about it on the channel. So, yeah, this is really awesome that they're foreshadowing to this already, that I love that impulse. And also, like, they're making babies. Like, lucky Barry right there. But anyways, guys, that was this episode of The Flash Season 7. We are returning next time to say goodbye to Cisco, which I'm really still sad about it, because he's one of my favorite characters on the show, really my favorite character on the show, and now he's leaving. So this is going to be sad, but I'm definitely excited to see it. I'm excited to see this farewell. It's probably going to be really emotional and sad, but we'll see how it goes. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep up to date on everything that goes on